Hello, pro wrestling fans, and welcome back to another episode of Squared Circle Speak. And today we have another wrestling showcase for you where we talk about the life and career of a specific professional wrestler. And today we're going back to TNA. We have done an episode on Eric Young in the past, and we decided to do another staple of TNA, one half of America's Most Wanted, one half of Beer Money. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about James Storm, the Cowboy. Sorry about your damn luck.
Yeah, this guy was, he had a catchphrase. He had, some cool moves. Some he ripped off, but he had some cool moves and he had a look kind of his own. And I feel like he could have been a bigger star. We'll get into maybe why he wasn't.
Yeah, so James Storm's career started in 1997. He started training with Wolfie D. You know,
Yeah, that's from
that's
PG-13.
yeah. If you don't know who that is, Wolfie D was a part of PG-13. He also went on to wrestle as Slash in TNA. He was a tag team partner of Jamie Dundee, who we did a thing on his dad, Bill Dundee. So it's all kind of coming together here, Nathan. He wrestled there, he trained, but then he had a broken shoulder, so he dropped out, and then he started training with Shane Morton. He started touring the Southeast because he is from Tennessee. He was signed actually to WCW in 2000 under an enhancement talent developmental deal. He made several appearances on Worldwide and Saturday Night, mostly, as I said, as enhancement talent. He wrestled the likes of Chronic, the Young Dragons 3 Count, and Rick Steiner in his few matches in WCW because he was signed there, and then shortly afterwards, they got bought out. So after that, he did Back to the Indies. He wrestled on a Legends Night show against Chris Harris, where I guess members of TNA were there and signed him to a deal right away. And he actually appeared on the very first TNA pay-per-view. Storm teamed up with Psychosis to take on the Johnsons,
Wow.
who were better known as Gemini, if you don't know who they are. If you're not like a complete wrestling nerd like we
Well,
are.
I mean, come on. Jim and I lasted what, 3 weeks? I mean,
Yeah,
come
they
on.
weren't around very long. But if you don't know who they are, then yeah. But yeah, that was his first match in TNA, was in there, and then he got paired up with uh his partner Chris Harris on the second ever TNA pay-per-view. And they were together for a while, for about 4 or 5 years. They were a team and a mainstay in the TNA tag team division, Nathan.
Yes, they were. And they're probably the best tag team they had for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, they really were. I mean, they were heels for a while. They were with Jarrett. They had great matches with Team 3D. They had great matches with Team Canada, with LAX. I mean, and Triple X as well. We did we do that? Yeah, we did a retro review of a TNA show one time on this show, and one of the
Yeah.
matches was the cage match between Triple X and America's Most Wanted, where Hilo Skipper did the high wire cage walk. So they were around for a long time until 2006, where they had their falling out, which I don't know if that was a good thing. Obviously, I think James Storm came out the better between the two. If you look at the careers of James Storm and Chris Harris, James Storm had probably the better career. But they ended up breaking. Harris ended up turning face. Didn't work out. James Storm went heel, and then wasn't too long after, a couple years after, he formed Beer Money with Robert Roode, which again, another staple of the tag team division. they you said America's Most Wanted was the best. I think Beer Money was the best too when they were around.
They really were. When they first got put together, I wasn't sure what they were doing, because yeah, Bobby Roode was more of a Team Canada, and then after Team Canada, he was more of he was like a rich heel kind of guy.
Yeah, he was just like a money, like he owned like a business guy.
He's almost like a Ted DiBiase type
Yeah,
character.
pretty much. Yeah.
And so it was like you're putting these two guys together, and one felt like more, you know, like you said, businessman. The other one felt more like he was a redneck. Didn't seem like it would match together, but it did.
They did. They were phenomenal as a team. They had great matches with LAX, the Motor City Machine Guns, uh, you know, British Invasion, uh, and they won the titles multiple times. James Storm actually, throughout his career in TNA, won the tag team titles, the TNA World Tag Team titles 7 times, which is insane. And then he won the NWA World Tag Team titles 7 times.
Well, whenever when Beer Money was at their top, you know, I was really hoping that they would come to WWE
Yes.
because I mean they were because DX, Shawn Michaels and Triple H were doing their kind of, they got back together and they were, doing their last hurrah, and they were doing good, and I just felt like these guys were kind of almost like a version of Shawn Michaels and Triple H.
Yeah, they were.
And I felt like if they could have came into WWE, they could have just took that mantle over, but it never happened. At
Yeah,
least not in the way that we wanted.
yeah. We'll got to talk about that. He did make a few brief appearances in NXT, but he never really went to WWE. So they were around. Beer Money were around till about 2011. At which point they ended up, going their own separate ways. They had the Bound for Glory series where they were both in it. And then you had the turn. Uh, Storm won the world title. And then he didn't win it. He had the shot at it. It was down to Storm and Rude turned on him, hitting him with the beer bottle, which was the breakup no one really saw coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was the number one contender, and then Storm Rude turned on him, and then that was the end of Beer Money. Robert Roode ended up becoming one of the best, I think, TNA World Champions ever. Storm held it for one, but he was not a champion very long. He only held it for like how long did he hold it? He didn't hold it very long, did he?
No, not very long at all.
8 days. Yeah.
Is that his one reign?
Yeah, he had one reign as champion, and it was an 8-day reign. So that sucks.
Well, James Storm went off on his own also, obviously, because they broke up. And he had a lot of runs where it seemed like they were gonna give him. He was almost like the RVD of TNA
Mm-hmm. Yep.
because he was always over with the crowd. Every time they did, this is when they did they did those tournaments that were like New Japan's uh G1. What was that? What was their tournament called?
So
Like something glory.
the Bound for Glory's, was it the series? Was that the Bound for Glory series, or was there another thing?
No, that's it. I think that's it.
Yeah, yeah, because you get so many points for
Yeah,
a
and
match spot.
they did those, and when every time they did those, he always did really good, and he always looked like he was going to win it, and it just felt like he was on the cusp of being their top face, but it just
Yeah.
never happened.
Yeah. So after the breakup and after he lost the title, he ended up feuding with Gunner for a while. Which I mean, what he ended up winning. He did win the tag team titles with Gunner. As one of his 7 reigns. Then they would end up breaking up as well. And then he went down the weird turn. He kind of became a Bray Wyatt-esque kind of character. He had the Revolution. where he got a Miss and Manic and Serena Deeb and Shira, and he was kind of like a cult leader. And this was where James Storm kind of went crazy. This was the James Storm. This was when, this was 2014. TNA was not in a good spot here.
No, definitely wasn't. And this is when, they were just doing like the creative was not good. They were grasping at straws, and yes, this was a blatant ripoff of Bray Wyatt.
I mean, they even had like big nets like in like an old shack and shit. Like it was really pretty much an imitation.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't like this. He also started getting a little more out of shape at this point.
Yeah.
And he just wasn't the same guy. And it was also at this point where, unfortunately, like I said, the timing just never lined up. I don't know if he would. I don't know what it was. Do you think he just was afraid of the big stage, afraid that he was just they would treat him like a Shawn Michaels ripoff, and he would never
I
get
it
over it?
made I think it was probably the travel. A lot of people don't go to WWE because they don't want to do that travel schedule. But if he went to NXT, like he would have at least been doing that schedule for a while. But
Back then, definitely, because back then that's when they were doing 3 house shows a week, and
traveling all over the country, yeah. So I mean, that turned a lot of people off of WWE back then. So that
yeah,
may have
so
something to
maybe
do with
that's
it.
what it was, but it just never happened for him. And then, unfortunately, when he did have a chance to come to NXT and maybe have a run or whatever, he was a little past his prime.
Yeah, it was 2015. So
Yeah. 18 years into the business, he was still not in the greatest of shape. And it just didn't work out. I don't know if he didn't want to do it, if he thought he would try it, didn't decide he didn't like it. But one weird thing came out of this, Ryan, is AJ Styles came a year later,
yeah.
in 2016, and it turns out that AJ Styles, his um his song was apparently supposed to be for James Storm.
Yeah, that came out from one of those table for three things or something. It was like Road Dogg just randomly dropped that like nugget of information. And if you listen to the song, it does fit James Storm a little bit.
Yeah, it does, because he's talking
Uh,
about being a redneck. And
yeah, so in October of 2015, he did a couple matches for NXT. He took on Danny Burch and Adam Rose. They did offer him a contract. And that's when they came up. I guess they figured he was going to sign because they wrote the song for him. They had everything ready, and he decided not to sign and ended up returning to TNA in 2016. He did a little bit of reunion with Beer Money for a little bit. This was before Rude also went to WWE as well. They did a little reunion, and then things got weird again because he ended up joining a group with Bram and Eddie Kingston.
Yeah, what a weird.
In the DCC, which was known as the Death Crew Council. The Death Crew Council were not around very long. They debuted in October 20th, 2016. They disbanded April 6th of 2017. So they did not have a very long run.
No, definitely not.
He went back, was there for a couple years. He turned face against them, and then he did a kind of little bit of a run, and then he left again in 2017. In 2019, he did end up in NWA when NWA got relaunched by Billy Corgan, and they had they had the TV show, and they were doing all when it was good. James Storm ended up there. He got a shot at the NWA World Title, but did not win it, and then he left there as well. And now he's still doing independent shows. He did go back to Impact one more time. He just can't stay away from that company. He was back in Impact for will matches here or there, but he never stuck around long. He was just did a match here, a match there, a match there, and he ended up in OVW for a little bit and became the OVW Heavyweight Champion as well. So he is still wrestling today, just doing independent work. Not signed anywhere, and I don't see him getting signed anywhere. He is 47. So what?
Right.
But yeah, he's went everywhere except WWE. He's one of those guys that it, in 2000, like, you know, 6, 7, 8, 9, even in 2011 would have been, he would have, I think him and Bobby Roode coming to WWE would have been great. It's just one of those, I guess, like you said, it just never worked out for him to go. And it's crazy to me that he never got a shot in WWE. Like, I mean, he did get a shot, but he just turned him down. And I go again, I don't know why. Maybe he thought he would go his partner route and not get used right or not, you know, make it in WWE. I don't know. It's just it's one of those things where I think he could have been really good in it, especially once they saw what they did with Bobby Roode when he came in. Like he
But
could have been a huge star in NXT.
here's the deal, man. That, like I said, it was a little past his prime though,
Yeah,
and Bobby Roode was too. I mean, like he did. Bobby Roode was good in NXT, but you can even tell Bobby Roode was wrestling a little slower. And you know his time in WWE didn't last that long either because the age caught up to him. He had a bad injury, and I wish he would have came in around 2010, man.
yep, that would have been the perfect time.
Yep. And but like you said, I guess travel and stuff just didn't line up. But he definitely could have been a multi-time heavyweight champion. Could have been a way bigger star than what he was. Um, but I mean, hey, he left his mark though, right? I mean,
Yep,
he's got and I don't know. I was a big fan. I think out of the TNA Rest originals, I think he was one of my favorites.
yeah.
And yeah, it really sucks. Whenever you don't want WWE to be the end all be all, you know. And for a lot of people, maybe it ain't, and that's how it was with him. But you just wanted to see him on one of the bigger stages.
Well, even that, like he was he was always a staple in TNA, but it always felt like he should have been bigger than he was.
Yeah.
Like I said, he had one title reign, one world title reign, and it was for 8 days. Like it's crazy to me that he never won it again. Like you never gave him a legitimate run. He could hold his own in the ring. He was talented in the ring, talented on the mic. The crowd loved him. I just
Right.
don't know why they never let him do anything. Like he was just always the guy that they could rely on to have good matches and to get people open and to get people over, but he just never like they never trusted him, I guess, to be the world champion. I don't know. I mean, it probably didn't help that so many people ran that freaking company. Like you never could get a good start in that company when it went from Dixie Carter to Hogan to Billy Corgan was in charge for a little bit, and then you know it was pretty crazy. So
Absolutely.
we can go through his title. He's won a lot of titles. Many of them are independent titles. Um, he won the WWC Tag Team Championships, which is the Puerto Rican company. Uh, that was in 2006. He also, like I said, he was an 8-time NWA World Tag Team Champion, a 7-time TNA Tag Team Champion. He was the Wrestle Birmingham Heavyweight Champion. He is currently he holds 2 championships, Nathan. He is
Really.
OFE Strong Style Championship, which is One Fall Entertainment. He has been champion for 292 days. He's also the current USA Pro Heavyweight Champion. He has been
Where
champion for
where is
eight.
that company?
I have no idea, but he's been champion for 859 days. I don't know what USA Pro Wrestling is. It looks like it's a small little company based out of Florida. So, but yeah, he's a current 2-time champion. So he
Hmm.
also held the 3XW Heavyweight Championship, the OVW Heavyweight Championship, the OVW National Heavyweight Championship, the NWA National Heavyweight Championship, the More Wrestling Champion, the TNA King of the Mountain Champion for 28 days, the CTW Heavyweight Champion, and then a lot of tag team titles. He was the NWA North American Tag Team Champion and the NWA Cyberspace Tag Team Champion.
Cyberspace.
So he was a tag team specialist. 8-time tag team NWA champion, a 6 to 7-time TNA tag team champion. Like, he'd probably go down as one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time. But like I said, he could hold his own, in singles matches too. So he was always one of my favorites in TNA. I always enjoyed James Storm. I thought he was entertaining as hell. So he's also done a couple movies. He never really got into the movie thing, but he did 2 movies. So, yeah, James Storm, I think he'll go down as one of the biggest, what if guys in wrestling. Like one of those guys that's like he should or what if or should have been bigger, in my opinion. He's so underappreciated and undervalued, I feel like, by a lot of people. Like they don't look like maybe they didn't see him wrestle or whatever, but man, his peak in TNA, he was like one of the most over guys in the company.
Yeah.
And it's just a shame they never trusted that. It was always the Kurt Angles and the Jeff Jarrett's and he could have been a top star. He should have been a top star.
I agree. I think that's going to do it for this episode of Superstar. What we call this, Ryan?
Superstar Spotlight, Wrestler Spotlight.
Wrestler Spotlight. I like that better because Superstar is just WWE. All right, so yeah, that's our episode of Wrestler Spotlight this week. If you like this, hit the like button, subscribe if you want to hear more of these Wrestler Spotlights, and hit the notification bell so you know when we're going to upload another episode of these Wrestler Spotlights. And tomorrow, look for an episode of Woulda, Coulda, Shoulda.
Yeah, a brand new show where we're going to rebook the way things should have gone or would have gone or could have gone. And that's a good one. It's one of the, I think it's one of the one we're going to do is one of the biggest misses in WWE history. So it's a little tease. Think about that and see if you're right and come back tomorrow and see. All right. And like Nathan said, like, comment, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. And we'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Squared Circle Speak. See ya.
Later.